Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another plan with me. This year is going by so freaking fast. I literally feel like I'm about to migrate into a new bullet journal here soon in a little bit. It's a little scary, but I will say that for May, my May theme, I did struggle a little bit to find a theme that I felt connected to. It's not even so that like I wasn't able to come up with any ideas or anything. I had a lot of ideas that I knew I could draw out. I just couldn't find myself being connected to any of them. And normally that is how I figure out my bullet journal theme that I'm going to draw out for the next month. It's definitely not a good feeling to not feel connected to my bullet journal. I do talk a little bit more about it, well actually a lot more about it in the video ahead, so I'm not going to get into too much of it right now. I don't want to take up too much more of the intro time, so let's just get to it.
Okay everyone, let's get started on our May cover page. We are starting with the header. I am using Sakura fine liners in sepia tone for all of the outlining, the borders, the monthly numerical calendars, the headers, everything. I used the size 05 for the header, and for everything else I am switching between a 01, the plastic nib, the 005, and then the 003. I really like the 005 for the outlining of the doodles, and then the 003 is actually really good for these small details in shading or different types of pen strokes like cross hatching and stippling. I've definitely been very into exploring that a little bit more in my drawings, so the 003 is perfect for that, especially with doodles like mine, which tend to be pretty much on the smaller side. I think other people with larger doodles and drawings in their bullet journals, they probably go for the thicker fine liner pens, but for me the extremely thin ones work. As you can see, the theme that I chose for this month has to do with windows, curtains, bows, definitely on the whimsical side. You could even say I am doing a little bit of wall decor and also including animals and florals. I'd also say it's kind of enchanted and dreamlike and delicate. I think those are good words to describe the aesthetics of this theme. As you can see, I went back to drawing my theme out rather than doing junk journaling, and the biggest reason why was because I was tired of pulling out my junk journaling supplies every time I needed to create a new spread. I don't really have an efficient organization system for any of my ephemera or any of my other junk journaling things, so it kind of makes it difficult because I forget where I put my frames or my stickers, and so the whole process just gets a little messy, and then I get frustrated and then wished I was just drawing my spreads out. That way all I needed was a pencil, an eraser, and a pen or a fine liner, and maybe even some markers. And I can also bullet journal anywhere. I can bullet journal on my bed or on my floor or downstairs. I don't need to be at my desk. Don't get me wrong, I love junk journaling and collaging and crafting and touching papers and seeing what other materials I can combine together and make a beautiful spread with different textures and layers. I think I would rather do it for its own sake though, instead of combining it with my bullet journal, or I would do it to send people supplies creating a flip folder, something like that. It's just sometimes when I'm in a rush or I have a lot of things to do, I have a very hectic and busy schedule, I'd rather quickly make my bullet journal spread rather than pull out all these things in order just to get a spread there for me to plan for my week ahead. But I do think there's a way to combine both, so maybe doing a little tiny mini collage in the corner or something like that. I think that would work. And I am not saying that I'm never going to junk journal in my bullet journal again. I just remembered why I stopped doing it to begin with. So I think, last month I said I would make it maybe an April thing, every April I do a junk journaling thing. So I think I'm going to keep it like that and make it sort of like a tradition. So as you can see, I kind of skipped doing a quote page this month, and instead I kind of mixed my monthly calendar with a few quotes here and there. I even have a quote on my cover page. One thing I do to find good quotes is go to Pinterest and type in typewriter quotes. Usually those quotes aren't as cliche or cringy. The other thing I like to do is write down quotes that I found through like books that I'm reading at the current moment. And then the last thing I do is look for poetry, and whatever resonates with me or whatever I'm going through in that moment and I relate, those are the quotes that I pick. So the one on my cover page says, "I am mine before I am anyone else's." And then there's two on my monthly calendar page. One of them says, "Oh, my dear, but a broken heart is yet another invitation." That one is actually from the poet who is also non-binary, transgender, named Alok Vadmenon. Everyone should go check them out right away. They are so talented and they are just a beautiful human being that just, I don't know, their words just make me feel seen and validated, and I think I have never felt more less alone after reading their words. I don't know, I learned so much about my life and my spirituality from reading their words, so go check them out right away. And the last one says, "The tragedy was loving you before I knew how to love myself." I'm actually not sure who wrote the other two words. I think it might have been anonymous on Pinterest. I should have been paying a little bit more attention to that. If I find them, then I will link it down below, or if one of you know, then, go ahead and comment. Speaking of comments, I just want to take the time to say that I appreciate every single one of you who comment down below on my videos. I am not able to respond to everyone, although I wish I could. Just know that I read all of them, your beautiful words, and you pouring yourself out to me, and it makes me feel less alone, like I am not the only one going through the things that, I talk about. So for that, I'm grateful, and, thank you for allowing me to hold space for you, just like how you hold space for me. Also, I am so incredibly, terribly sorry for the lighting changes. I ended up filming on a day that was extremely overcast, and as I've mentioned before, when I film on the days that are overcast, then for some reason the sun and the moon like to dance to a song called Suavemente, and everyone knows when you're dancing to the song called Suavemente, you can't help but shake your hips all around your partner. So I appreciate your understanding around the lighting adjustments. This bothers me very much, but I am terribly sorry. We're just gonna have to deal with it. Alrighty, let's move on to the May habit and mood tracker page. I am doing the same layout I always do. You are probably very tired of me saying that, but hey, I am not tired of this layout because it works for me. I mean, really, it is so versatile. Literally, I have room to doodle, I have room to add a monthly numerical calendar, I even have room to add in a quote, and I have room to track all of my moods and my habits. Like, I can even add more in here if I wanted. I'm not even using a true A5 size journal. I'm using a slightly smaller A5 size journal, and it still works out. Like, come on, this has to be like the best layout ever. Okay, now that I am done over justifying why I chose to use this layout, let's move on to talking about the doodles here. So I have, on the cover page, I did an arched doodle, or a window, and at this time I'm doing a more rectangular window. The inspiration for these windows just came from photographs of windows off Pinterest, and the inspiration for all my curtains actually came from looking up lace curtains. I am very infatuated with lace right now. I want to put it on all of my doodles. If you are a part of my Patreon community, then you would know that last month, like literally I was drawing like lace bows and lace envelopes. Like lace and roses were just like my thing, and they are continuing to be my thing because that is just what I am, totally obsessed with right now. I just wish that a softer off-white eggshell type of color existed in the water-based markers. I cannot find one for the life of me. The Crayola multi multicultural pack. Just it does have the lighter neutral tones, but they are more on the reddish undertone side. Like they're all called almond, but for some reason they have like pink undertones. I am looking for more of like a yellowy gray greenish undertone, and for some reason they just don't exist in water-based markers. They exist in alcohol, but I can't use alcohol-based markers in my bullet journal. So that is one thing that sucks. I tend to want my spreads to be on the lighter side. I don't like overly saturated colors. Other creators use the saturated and bright colors in their bullet journals and their artwork, and it's absolutely beautiful. There's literally nothing wrong with it. It's just like not my style. I definitely like the more muted tones, and it's really just unfortunate when like you're trying to create a drawing or a piece of artwork that you are trying to express, you know, and create through your imagination, but you simply cannot get it right, and you can't replicate what is in your mind because you have a limited option of colors. I was this close to taking out my gouache paint set for this bullet journal theme just so I can get accurate color representation, but I just got lazy and I was like, nah, it's not worth it. I'll just deal with the markers. So I definitely went with fewer shades of colors as possible. I think when you add too many colors, sometimes it can get a little hectic and busy. I wanted it to be as cohesive as possible. As you can see, I did a little junk journaling collaging up there on the left top corner there. I definitely used up a lot of the white space in my bullet journal pages for the habit and mood tracker. I didn't utilize the negative space as much. I also brought back elements from some of my older bullet journal themes, like the grid in the enclosed, you know, borders or the boxes. And now let's move on to the weekly page. So for those of you who are taking inspiration from this bullet journal theme, or in fact just straight up replicating it and also love Dutch doors, then you are going to be in for a treat, because I actually made every single weekly for May. So all 4 weeklies, I made them all at once, and they are in this video. In the 4 years that I have been bullet journaling, I think it's 4, it might be 3, but it's one of those 2. I have never created all my entire bullet journal theme for the month, like, and all of the weeklies and everything in one sitting. I've just never done that. I have no idea why. I think it's because like I was not really creating Dutch doors, especially like in the beginning. Every single spread was on its own 2-page spread. But lately I have just been feeling a little bit overwhelmed with creating bullet journal pages. I don't know if I've just been creating them for so long now that I'm either out of ideas, or I don't know if it's that more than it is the fact that I am putting uncalled for pressure on myself to make my spreads pretty or decorative. I'm trying to constantly one up my theme from the previous month. It really sucks because I've actually never really felt this kind of pressure when it comes to my bullet journaling. Like for the majority of my bullet journaling journey, I've actually been pretty like, you know, hey, I'm gonna make my bullet journal work for me instead of me working for it. Or even if I did start feeling this sort of pressure, then I was pretty like self-aware about it, but it was never like debilitatingly paralyzing like it has been for at least like the last 3 to 4, 5, maybe 6 months. Like honestly, it's gotten so bad that I'm like dreading making my bullet journal pages. Like I just am avoiding it entirely, and I'm just waiting for like me to be done with like setting everything up so that I can just like finally breathe. And you know, you'll see these videos on YouTube that are like, oh, you're definitely gonna quit bullet journaling, or you probably will, just don't do this. Like you know, there's videos like that all over YouTube. And you know, I've actually been thinking about them a lot, and like I've even considered this idea of like not doing bullet journaling anymore because of like the anxiety that I feel every every time I need to create a new theme or a new bullet journal spread. But then I was like thinking about like actually quitting, right? And it's just like, I cannot quit because the bullet journaling system is actually extremely, incredibly helpful for me. Like it literally makes me feel more sane when I can write down a list of the things that I need to do, because my head tends to be very loud. I'm all over the place, and if I can't get things down on paper, I'm going to basically want to give up on life. Like that's just like how dramatic my head is, and that's also something that, you know, people with mental illness like often struggle with. So I can like easily say and make this statement that bullet journaling is actually contributing to my healthy lifestyle, and also it's pretty much saving my life. So I'm in a little bit of a dilemma, right? Because like on one hand, bujoing is kind of giving me this stress, but on the other hand, it's completely like impacting my life in like a positive way. And you know, a lot of you like have said that after finding my videos, you found a new way to bullet journal that was a lot less stressful, and you actually started enjoying it more. And it's really funny because now it feels like I'm actually going in the opposite direction. And so I am having to really look at that and why and what is contributing to me feeling this way. I think having an audience definitely does not help sometimes. Like I feel like because now people are watching me, I have to create certain types of spreads that, you know, like for approval and not just for my own personal self. And bullet journaling has actually, it's a very personal experience. So when you start like hearing voices of other people, it really starts to like block your creativity. Coming up with this May theme, like I struggled for like 4 or 5 hours before like I committed to something. And when I first started bullet journaling, or for basically the majority of my bullet journaling journey, it like I never really had that problem. Like I kind of came up with a theme, looked internally, and I was able to go with it. And you know, the pressure to make it perfect or one up, you know, my last spread or anything like that, like it really wasn't there. I was creating for myself. So I really think that, you know, I'm not sure if this is going to happen next month, but it will happen soon, where I might not be making these bullet journaling plan with me videos every single month. Like I might take a break for myself so that I can realign and reconnect with my bullet journal and feel like it's personally catering to myself rather than everyone else and like the community. And that sucks, you know, because I knew this community grew from my bullet journal pages. It just feels like it's a little counterproductive and even almost like contradictory, because bullet journaling as a system is actually supposed to be like a very personally designed system for, you know, yourself, not for everyone around you. And honestly, because I was making everything for myself, I think that is actually why my community even grew in the first place, because, you know, you all are, you know, drawn to that feeling where like, you know, there's not pressure to create for other people. And I hope that, you know, maybe I helped you feel that way about your own bullet journals, but now I think it's my turn to reconnect with myself. So I know I took up like a lot of this video talking about that. I just feel like it's something that I have been going through and struggling with. So I really just wanted to share it with all of you. Maybe you all are also going through that or have gone through it. I really just don't want to quit bullet journaling. It's a big part of my life. And so I just think sometimes it's important to take a breather, take a step back, reevaluate what things are working, what things aren't working. And it's scary to do that because, you know, it's going to require a change in your schedule and your routine. And it's probably going to stop my growth in terms of like my social media. But, you know, I have to have some level of faith that like the people who love my work and who love me, they're going to stay and wait and be patient and know that this is just part of like the human experience. And we can't require perfection from creators. I'm still going to post my bullet journal photographs on Patreon and Instagram. I just might take a break from YouTube. So now that I kind of got that out of the way and let you guys know where I am, let's talk a little bit about my weeklies, and then we can get through the flip through, and then we can get to the outro, and then this video will be done. So I do feel like I kind of cheated a little bit by making creating this 4-page Dutch door. Like, it just feels like, oh, I'm not creating a brand new themed doodle for every page. Instead, I just made one for all 4 weeklies. But also, it's like, based on everything that I'm kind of going through, I'm pretty proud and impressed with myself that I even made this many page spreads or managed to even finish this. And right now I know we're in the flip through, but I'm just gonna keep talking. I'm actually like really happy that I'm not gonna have to like worry about making a bullet journal spread like for the rest of the month. I have like an entire month to not think about bullet journaling, and instead I really want to focus on creating like more stickers and products for my stationery shop. I'm also making like a ton more videos on TikTok that kind of have to do with like the behind the scenes on how I create my products for my stationery shop. But we're done with the flip through, so let's talk a little bit more about this in the outro.
Yeah, so I kind of just feel like the direction that I want to spend my time and creating content around and like what I feel motivated by is just shifting a little bit. It's hard because like I want to create content for you guys, and I also want to maintain a level of consistency, but I also feel like we are evolving creatures that feel inspired by something different every year, every month, even every day. And I want to honor the consistency part of me, but also the parts of me that's kind of like ever changing. And I think right now I'm just struggling with this idea of like, what is it exactly that I feel connected to, and how can I reconnect with that? Kind of like figure out what my why is in all of this. While I figure all that out, meanwhile, I just want to wish you all peace and love with your bullet journaling journeys. So feel free to connect with me on Instagram, on Patreon, or TikTok if you have one. I love hanging out with all of you. And as always, if no one told you they loved you today, I love you so very much. You can say hi to Boba. Hi, Bubba's. Okay, she says bye-bye. Bye, everyone.